It's such a beautiful thing. You think God doesn't enjoy us? Of course he does. He loves us dearly. We're his precious treasure. So important to get that message out to people because people get beaten down by the world. And there's this air, this atmosphere of fear and just loathing and just misery. And, this idea that do the earth a favor, go kill yourself. It's overpopulated. We don't need you. We got a carbon footprint. Abort your baby, jump off a cliff, do what's good for Gaia, Mother Earth. I mean, we got the Pope on board with this. We got presidents. All these people, make me want to vomit. I mean, they're going to make God want to vomit too. And he's going to seek revenge on these people. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. And he's going to do it in his way. He doesn't want to destroy the wicked. He's going to banish them. That's the way they're going to be destroyed. Banished to hell. Just like turning a light on in a dark room. You could say, you banish the light, the darkness, that'd be fair. Or you could say, you destroy the darkness, temporarily until you turn the light off. Whatever the case may be. But it's gone. For all intents and purposes, it doesn't exist in that space anymore. So that's what's going to happen. That's what's right and fair. The wicked are going to be gone. And all that's going to be left on the earth is the righteous, the meek, that are going to inherit the earth. And then we get the renewal of all things with the ushering in of this new age and the reign of Jesus Christ over the affairs of men. And so we're all idealistic, and we've got these imperishable bodies suddenly when we don't die anymore. Understand how different your paradigm, our reality would be. I think of how much I love womankind. I think, God, I'm so glad you made me a man. I just think it's so cool, man. I just think it's so cool, this opposite sex and how this yin yang and, like the poles on a magnet, this, irresistible attraction I have for the female is just such a beautiful thing. I was built that way. It's instinct. And I dig it. And, I need forgiveness because I feel like a sinner, just thinking about these things. But, I adore women. It's just such a work of art, the beauty, the femininity. Everything about the woman is so beautiful. And then I think, God, this is in this tainted, adulterated paradigm. Imagine how beautiful women will be in a world where they're born free, okay? In a world where they're safe and secure and liberated, truly, by, God's definition of those terms, not the definition of me or any other man. It's such a beautiful thing to ponder, but, I want to be like, like Jesus said, we're going to be like the angels of the air someday, but we're not going to be angels. He says there will be no marrying or giving in marriage. I don't know exactly what that means, but maybe it'll kind of mean like it was supposed to be in the beginning. So when God created us, he created us never to die. And so when you consider, what that would be like, you say, well, what about the marriage thing? Were we supposed to be monogamous and just, stay with one partner forever? And I would suggest, yes, likely it seems like that to me. That's what I believe, but I don't know. I don't know. If sin didn't enter the picture and none of us felt not even a tinge of guilt about, making love to others and it wasn't a carnal thing, it was just a beautiful instinct that we were acting out on. Who knows? I don't know. So there was no guilt associated with our sexuality, the carnal, base nature as it is now. That we all, if we do anything that we believe deep down in our heart is outside of the proper bounds of God's, Puritanism and things like this, that wow, this, the only right way to have sex is in a marriage. That masturbation is wrong and homosexuality is wrong and all this stuff we may believe in our hearts. But we don't know that to be true because we don't know what it's like to have a pure mind. It's been corrupted. Our files essentially have been corrupted, and that's for everybody. All the creatures are suffering the consequences. All the creatures have to pay the price because the temperature gets too hot, because the temperature gets too cold. Now we've got natural disasters. We've got stinging insects. We've got creatures that will attack us like sharks and lions and bears and tigers. We have accidents because gravity is much more serious. It's lethal now. But we, with our using our imaginations, we can say, well, I could overcome this, and if God's all powerful and loving, why hasn't He? Those are good, valid questions we all have to ask. Then, gravity, He simply tweaks the gravity gauge, so to speak, and that solves the, gravity being lethal. Our atomic structure is dramatically improved, so it can no longer be mortally wounded. When it comes to natural disasters, hey, you got a perfect climate 24/7 all around the planet, 75 to 80 degrees all the time, a nice wind blowing. Then let's see, what else do we have here? We've got the insects. Well, who needs them? People can say, well, if you didn't have the mosquitoes, then the bats would starve to death. Well, we'll have to live without the bats and maybe have another creature to take their place if there's a shortage of creatures. So on and on and on. And then how about the predator thing, okay? So we say, well, is it possible, can I use my imagination to see lions being satisfied by eating straw like it's predicted, that, someday the lions will lay down with the lambs and eat straw? Could I see that for human beings, being satisfied instead of needing meat or desiring it greatly, craving it? Could we be satisfied by fruit, vegetables, whatever, other things? And I say yes. By using my imagination, I can say yes, definitively. You can see all those things those are just a few more miracles when it comes to renewing the earth that God is quite capable of doing. He can make these changes happen fast, slow, or anywhere in between. That's evolution by the finger, the hand of God. It's like a painter. When he's painting a painting, he, it doesn't just appear. It takes time. Depending on the painter, it might take, I don't know how long, weeks, months? I don't know how long it takes, but that's it. That's evolution. It's growth, it's work, it's progress. And that's what's going to happen here, is that the earth will be cleansed. And I do believe we'll have a perfect temperature. I believe there'll be no more stinging insects. There's not going to be snakes that are going to bite you or other creatures that might attack you. And certainly no human beings. And there's not going to be any money. That is probably the biggest sea change, the most dramatic, the most profound sea change that's coming. It's not even the fact that we're going to live forever. Yes and no. You weigh it out. You say, wow, how different my paradigm, my perspective, my perception, my reality would be if I knew I was never going to die. It'd be dramatically different. But just imagine how different it would be without money. How many people out there can't even imagine how a society could run without money? But folks, it's a joke. It's deceit. You're believing a lie if you believe we can't live without money. That, it's just, believe what you're told, that it's there to facilitate exchange, and it makes perfect sense. Don't be a nut. No, I'm saying it has to go. It's a false competing God like Jesus spelled out. And it has to be gone. It'll have no role at the renewal of all things, okay? That's it. In the new age, it's going to have no role. We're not going to need it. Do you need to be beholden to somebody? Okay, no, you're going to say, no, I don't. I will serve of my own free will and accord. I don't need somebody beating me and coercing me and telling me, look, you better go out and make that money, and you've got to, pay this cost of living in perpetuity, and they keep raising the bar, destroying our currency, enslaving us more and more and more, making our lives more and more miserable, creating more and more fear, their perverted form of reverence. No, folks. No, we don't want to trust these people. We don't want to believe in them. So what do you believe? You believe indeed that we can get along just fine without money. That prosperity can be in the stuff, okay? Beyond the metaphorical, term for values and treasures. And prosperity is, the conscience, the integrity, your honor, your heart, your soul, your spirit, your mind, those invisible things that make up our most important essence as human beings. But beyond that, we could say even in the material world, it's in the stuff. It's saying, well, look, this guy's prosperous. He's driving a Ferrari, here in California, and think, well, even then, the guy's not really prosperous if he can't afford to buy a house. That's the state of affairs here in California. It doesn't matter if you're driving a Maserati, a Lamborghini, whatever, Rolls Royce. If you can't afford to be a homeowner, because you could certainly afford to buy one of those vehicles long before you could buy a house in most areas of California. So, you could be poverty-stricken, which half the people in California are poverty-stricken. They can't afford to be a homeowner, even though they'd like to be. So that's a situation. So prosperity, is a very subjective term. But the system will tell you, no, it's black and white. It's just money. How much money do you have? How much money do you make? That's whether you're prosperous or not. It has nothing to do with your belief systems. Your metaphorical treasures have no value in reality, their definition of reality. But of course, God's is contrary, opposite, 180 degrees different. But it's in the stuff. It's in the availability of the stuff. If you want to use a sailboat, a yacht, you want to take a cruise, you want to have a nice car, you want to have a house, you want to have at least access to use these things. Because let me ask you folks, what is ownership? Consider that. What is ownership? Okay, we're all just passing through. It's all usership. To say that you own something means you get to keep it. It's yours. You possess it. But we're all just using stuff. We know that we might be dead today, so everything's fleeting and transient and temporal. So it's a stupid concept. God owns us. God owns everything else in the universe, not just on earth and not just our stuff, but everything. So, in our right mind, we will think right. And, we can do that just I turn to God. God, reveal to me where I'm deceived. And when you